Hello there, and welcome to the very first Magazine Monday on the channel. This is a brand new series I'm starting every 2 weeks. Hopefully that works out because I do think we actually get 13 magazines in a year, given the fact that they come out every 4, maybe 4 and a bit weeks. I'm pretty sure last year we figured out we actually get 13, but we're going to be looking at the Star Wars magazine today, and next fortnight, we're going to be taking a look at the Marvel one, the Spider-Man issue that comes out as part of Marvel. And hopefully this will be recurring, so stick with us as we explore not just these magazines, but also what else Brickheads have to offer. Before we look inside today's magazine, I'd like to give a massive thank you to Brickheads Toy Company for my free subscription. Brickheads, that's spelt with an S, is your one-stop shop for LEGO Star Wars magazines, as well as other themes like Ninjago. We've got all the superheroes, DC, Avengers, Spider-Man, and if you're not a fan of any of the themes, they also do LEGO City. Right now, you can get 15% off your very first order, and you can also use my affiliate code linked in the description. They don't charge any delivery whatsoever, no import, nothing. And by paying in advance, you can save up to 30% off your magazines. Every month, I get the English version of the Star Wars magazine, though Brickheads do also ship the German one if you either want the trading cards or can understand it. But we're also starting to get the Marvel one, which have some really good figures, and this Thor minifigure actually inspired a series on the channel. A lot of the minifigures you'll see in the magazine are quite expensive figures, be it because of the minifigure or sometimes the collector's tin that's provided alongside. Brickheads will never remove the poly bag, and for a magazine like DC that is only every other month, to fill the gap, they actually send you 3 poly bags and still don't charge you any more. So if you like what you hear, take a look in the description by subscribing to your favorite themes. These are the issues available right now, but keep an eye out because they'll be updating very, very soon. Today's magazine, as you've seen, comes with a Darth Maul tin, which is a very special edition. And we've just seen Superman in a tin as well. So getting one for Star Wars, and I believe thanks to Europe, who are slightly ahead with the magazines, we also know that there's a Marvel one coming in just a few issues. I think it's January's issue by the time it hits us, but hopefully it's not too far off. I think going forward, we should probably try to just cut the poly bag straight off the magazine. But as you can hear, there is something inside this magazine, of course there's something inside the magazine. We'll take a look at that first. But in this tin, we do have the Darth Maul, which is the final minifigure from the Scimitar in these books that we are yet to collect. There's also, I've noticed, a chance to win a Luke Skywalker Brickheads, which if you are ordering this in America, you'll have to check terms and conditions to see if you can actually apply for that, but I'm definitely applying. We got a sneak peek at some of the stuff in this magazine. So here's a sneak peek for the video, and you can see Commando droids, Mando from last week's magazine. Actually, that Mando doesn't have the helmet print in, and we've also got a comic to go with our Darth Maul minifigure, but let's get right into it. Oh, make me proud, my student, and bring me a blue milkshake. Yes, master, I won't let you down. I really love the LEGO Star Wars magazines because of the comics. I mean, where else are you going to see a Commando droid in like a pink maid outfit cooking up a meal for Yoda on Dagobah? Where these ideas come from, I have no idea. It's the equivalent of like mashing together 2 completely random LEGO sets. And I do have to say, the Commando droid used in the comic is technically the old one. The magazine's usually on top of this. Last week, when we got the issue from last month, a bit late, we took a look, and one of the comics had the TIE Fighter X-Wing mashup from Rebuild the Galaxy. Came out last year, but it's still quite a recent set, and even had the UCS Death Star in it. Maybe that was an advertisement. But let's see how many of these questions we know. What colour was Yoda's lightsaber blade? I'll give you a few seconds to think about that, and if you do want to play along, leave your answers in the comments. Of course, Yoda's lightsaber blade was green. We'll be taking a look at the actual Yoda lightsaber that Disney sell in a future video. Fun fact, it's also a little shorter than the rest of the lightsabers. Typically lightsabers are, you know, yay high, and Yoda's blade is probably rocking about 80%, obviously with a smaller stature. It must be easier for Yoda to wield. Which species does Yoda belong to? Which is a trick question because we don't actually know the species that Yoda is belonging to, so I guess there's no answer for that. On which planet did Yoda live in exile? We've just seen that in the comic. That is Dagobah. Which of these characters was not trained by Yoda? It gives us a list: Count Dooku, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Sheev Palpatine. This is quite funky because if you've only watched 1 through 6, you would assume that Yoda doesn't train Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think anyone's guessing Palpatine. Actually, the answer was who wasn't trained by Yoda, so Palpatine is the answer. But Kenobi does say in Empire Strikes Back to Luke that you will go to the Jedi Master that trained me. And I believe what Yoda trained Kenobi in specifically, besides just training everyone at the Jedi Temple, was communing with Qui-Gon through the Force, which then we see, end of the Kenobi show he does, and throughout A New Hope he's making Force Ghost calls to Qui-Gon as well as reaching out to Yoda. How old is Yoda approximately when he becomes one with the Force? When over 900 years old you reach, look as good, you will not. It has to be 900 years. On which planet did Yoda train younglings? Okay, there's a few planets, but the answers that it gives is Tatooine, Coruscant, and Takodana. I'm sure Yoda trained someone on Takodana, given how old he is, how old Chewie is, how old Maz is. They must go way back, because Chewie knew Maz, Chewie knew Yoda. It kind of makes sense through the mutual friend of Chewbacca that Yoda probably had good relations with Maz Kanata too. But the answer they're looking for is Coruscant. What was Yoda's role within the Jedi Order in the later days of the Old Republic? Caretaker, High Padawan, or Grand Master of the Jedi Temple? I think technically there is a little typo. Grand Master of the Jedi Council wasn't his role. It was Grand Master of the Jedi High Council, which was based on Coruscant, and that was the big one. According to Yoda, what's the initial feeling that leads to the dark side? Oh, this is genuinely the hardest question. I don't know if it's fear, anger, or hate. I can never remember the order, but I think it makes sense that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, so I'm going to go with fear. The Commando tries to take on Yoda, which is fair enough. Commando droids are, after all, designed with the sole purpose of being able to combat Jedi in like hand-to-hand combat. Kind of the Mandalorian of the droid army. But this one has a green lightsaber, which is absolutely terrifying. And in the comic strip, Yoda just has a box of sabers. I guess this is aboard the Separatist shuttle. So this is Grievous's collection of sabers they're using here. Grievous's green lightsaber versus Grievous's blue lightsaber that Yoda uses because Yoda's lightsaber was taken on Coruscant. It was burned after the Great Jedi Purge. And then somehow, I don't think the lightsabers actually burnt. I think that was more of a spectacle Palpatine was putting on, because it ends up in Luke's possession, which he offers to Grogu, and Grogu doesn't take it. So I wonder which of the Padawans Kylo slaughtered was wielding that iconic green blade. You just wouldn't want to be a Padawan in the Star Wars universe, would you? I would love to get another Separatist shuttle. It's the same shape as the shuttle used for the Phantom 1. No, the Phantom 2. In Rebels is the Separatist shuttle. We see it a lot in the prequel trilogy, especially in episode 3, and I think that's a set that I'm not sure Lego would tackle, so I might have to go back and build one of the older versions. Well, I should have flicked the page before saying anything. Of course, it's built in Lego, it's going to blow up. Me and my partner have had a lot of fun with that over the last couple of years from the Marauder in Bad Batch. Got a Lego set, blew up in the next season. The Razor Crest, now the N1, Mando's N1. I was hoping for a UCS set next year. We got the trailer for Mando and Grogu. Check out my reaction. There's no N1 in the trailer. It will probably feature early on. I don't think they'll completely skip over it, but it looks like that ship's not sticking around either. And right at the end of the comic, we have a minifigure, probably one of the most requested minifigures from Star Wars, a Force Ghost Qui-Gon Jinn. Come on, Lego. how long is it going to be till we actually get Force Ghost minifigures? I actually do have a Force Ghost of Qui-Gon, but it's not quite a minifigure. It's one of the limited edition, the exclusive glow-in-the-dark Force Ghost Qui-Gon Jinn Funko Pops, which is a great Funko, and we've just got a brand new version from Kenobi of this, but we need to have Force Ghost minifigures. Now we've got to the middle of the magazine. This is where the fun begins, because we have a giant poster, which if you haven't seen, I did actually get round to putting the Grogu poster on the wall. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a short on it. And this poster comes with not only our Darth Maul, in fact, Darth Maul and Kenobi down there, but also the Sith Infiltrator, also known as Darth Maul's scimitar, which I have built purely for the purpose of this magazine because, well, I think it's a bit too late to be doing a review on it, but I had so much fun building this set. There's a few modifications I've made, mainly the fact that I'm not fond of squishing this rubber piece down here. I'd rather just slide the hatch back, and this releases 3 of Darth Maul's probe droids. In fact, I was able to fit a 4th one in there. You can fit up to 4 of the probe droids in, but only 3 of them come with a set. And on top of that, we have the 2 blasters at the front, which can be independently fired, which is nice to see. I think the U-Wing had a similar mechanism of firing the left and the right one separately. It's much better than firing 2 of them. Even firing 1 of them is a bit too much sometimes. We have some landing gear, which gives a nice slope to Maul's scimitar. It leans forward, as I'm sure it does in Phantom Menace. I kind of trust in the designers on that one, but you can also fold it and it hides right away in the rest of the design of the scimitar. It's done really well actually, how they've been able to hold those at that angle to get the slope on the scimitar. We've got an interior to the ship, which is something not all scimitars have, and it's one of the best interiors of any ship so far. You lift up the panels, fold down the ramp, open up the slopes, and you can pull Darth Maul's speeder bike straight out. That is what Maul uses to sit in there. Saves having to clip Maul down. We've got clips for the double-bladed lightsabers, but we haven't actually got round to opening Maul up just yet. So I'm going to put this to the side. Let's finish the magazine, get the poster framed, and then we'll return to take a look at the rest of the set. With this poster, they are always double-sided. You should probably undo the staples before pulling it out. I don't think actually it looks too bad having the holes in the middle of the posters from the distance that I can see the poster. And we'll take a look at those minifigures in just a second. But now I'm torn on which poster I actually want to display, because we've got this Darth Maul one, which looks cool. And I think with the Maul tin, it's only fair we show this. But we've also got the UCS Grogu, which is what I would have loved from last week's poster. Last week, I keep saying last week, we picked up the magazine last week. It's last month's issue, which is actually still available. I went into my local Morrison's to have a look if they had any of the tins, and they were completely sold out. So obviously going to be a popular magazine, probably if not exclusively for this limited edition box, which doesn't sell for a lot. It's not an investor's piece, but I can completely understand why average fans at LEGO would want to grab a collector's box, especially for the price of a magazine. We had the Grogu poster last month, but it was just like a design. Maybe the Lego Grogu is kind of what we see in the figure, but the pod wasn't Lego at all. And it had the UCS Razor Crest. I think pairing up the buildable Grogu and Pram with the UCS Razor Crest would have been perfect for a Lego display. And we also snuck the Mandalorian off the paper poly bag in the corner. But time for the changing of the poster. You can check out this magazine and more in last week's video, and it's time for the Sith to reveal themselves in poster form. That looks good to me. And time for the grand reveal. Look at that poster. I do prefer the Sith and aliens and Jedi to have no pupils as opposed to pupils. It does look a bit weird on the more humanoid characters, but I think if they're going to go for it, they might as well double down. Imagine Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight without pupils. That's going to look weird. Maybe maybe we can keep them exclusive just to the aliens of Star Wars, because that seems to work. Most of them are wearing coloured contacts anyway. And now let's put this up. It's quite funny how they've worked this magazine, because last week we were talking about the games on the double spread. Behind the poster, there's usually a board game, and a lot of the time it does require you to take out the poster in the middle. But this week, they've put it on the next page. We have this giant board game that you can play, I guess because it crosses the page rather than being more of that battleship design. They want you to play it whether or not you remove the poster. You don't have to tear the poster out. You can keep it in the magazine and still able to play the game of Luke versus, I think this character is Zev Seneska, who is his co-pilot in Empire Strikes Back. But it might also be Dak Router. I think Zev is the one with the grey helmet. Before we get to the board game, there is a symbol sorting game where you sort the characters to their symbol. For instance, the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, would be paired up with the Mudhorn signet that goes on his shoulder. But some of the minifigures here are really cool. We got Princess Leia from the Yavin set, which isn't really a rare minifigure, but it's not a common one. We're yet to get her in the magazine. We got Windu from the Fighter Tank, not a very popular set, but that was a good build. Captain Phasma from 2015's Force Awakens, probably released in at least one, if not two sets since then, but probably quite a hard minifigure to get your hands on now. Darth Malak came in the R2-D2. Din Djarin has come in a few sets, especially that Microfighter, which is where we'll also see Rex, not in the N1 Microfighter, but in another Microfighter, and I wonder how many characters will get another Microfighter. I would love to see Luke Skywalker in a Microfighter land speeder, because it's the perfect scale for a minifigure scale land speeder. And I also love the minifigure that came with the UCS Death Star, or is coming with a UCS Death Star that is still not out, despite the fact I cannot go anywhere on YouTube without seeing someone talking about or showing off a feature of that Death Star. I'm over it already. The games in this magazine do seem to be easier than the last one. Last time we got a game where we had to roll a dice, and if you didn't land on a green square, you had to completely reset. And I gave it a go. It's so much harder than you'd think. Whereas a lot of these are to... Oh, this is like Minesweeper. And I absolutely love playing Minesweeper. So I'm going to be going through filling out these games after the video's done, and especially like the Where's Wally, or for those of you in the state, Where's Waldo games, where you have to spot how many minifigures are here, how many TIE fighters, and we also get the reuse of the Rebels dark tan Imperial outfits, which I'd love to get because I didn't pick up that Tarkin. We also have encrypted messages. This is my magazine right here. Probably the best puzzles I've ever seen. And we always get at least one page of puzzles. This is a build and play. Grab your Lego bricks and build an obstacle course for your Darth Maul minifigure to help train him even better. Just a little side build. But we always get one page dedicated to the minifigure, typically in a build magazine, because believe it or not, magazines don't always come with minifigures. We have been absolutely spoiled this year with pretty much a full year of minifigures. But sometimes we do get a build, like the TIE Defender a few months ago, and they'll have the instructions on a page. If it's fairly easy, you'll get some games about that. But minifigures always come with a page dedicated to them, be it a fact file or a game page, and sometimes they even feature in their own comics. Oh, that's the hairpiece from like the punk rocker CMF. There's so many references in this. We've got like the Power Miner's crystal, which technically that's just a Kyber crystal laying on the floor. We've also got like this portrait of Palpatine, which just doesn't exist as an element. And there's some other non-Lego things in this magazine, like a scarf, like the Rubik's Cube up the top, and a beach ball. I guess the beach ball's able to be made kind of like the balloon dog. And there's also a Inquisitor's lightsaber right there with a load of Imperial logo can. Oh, that is quite funny. Here we go. Win Star Wars Lego. Yes, please. There's not even a little bit to tear off and send back. Is that how long it's been since we last had a chance to win some Star Wars Lego. Before you pick up the magazine to try and get your Brickhead's Luke for free, I do have to warn you, there is an age limit. This only applies to 5 to 16-year-olds. So we're yet to get any magazine that welcomes adults, but I think that's fair enough, getting people into Lego on a free set. Not only did we get the puzzle for Maul, and then we got the magazine based off the character as well, following Darth Maul, but we also get a Sith fact file that includes Darth Maul. Interesting, they include Darth Maul, and then you've got Palps and Vader from the original trilogy, but it works. At least until you read the Rule of Two section down here and there's 3 of them still alive. The Darth Maul isn't even the one in the tin, it's the Clone Wars version. Actually, Maul and Palpatine both have pupils on this page, so it's very inconsistent as to new and old pieces used. There's a mix, but I guess it just means it's for everyone. Before we look at next time's issue, we have some galactic page markers, which are absolutely massive bookmarks, and not only do they have characters on the front, but they also have some really cool ships on the back. We've got the N1 and the Snub Fighter, one of my favourite Lego sets from The Mandalorian, and I think that's only because I haven't built the UCS one yet. And then the new Starfighter, the very, very old Vader's Advance. This has got to be from like 2010 eras. We've got Vader's Advance since this one, so that's an interesting choice. And it seems to be the Luke X-Wing from about 5 years ago. Stay tuned for next month because we have another UCS minifigure in the magazine in the space of the Droideka, which I feel like fairly common elements. Actually, that bottom piece isn't too common, holding on the claws. It is present in this year's advent calendar, but it's just not a common piece. So now we've taken a look at the magazine, let's crack open this tin and see if we've been lucky enough to get 2 Darth Maul minifigures, because I have seen a few, not with Darth Maul, but with Superman. A few people have allegedly got 2 minifigures in a tin, and likewise people have been missing parts from minifigures, though in the magazine it's so rare to miss a part because you've only got the minifigure in there. They're done on weight, and because it's only like 3-4 elements inside, it's very easy to tell when you're missing a part. Well, that could have been easy. In trying to peel off the tape, I've actually opened the tin, and rather than the lid popping off, which is what I assumed happened, it actually just slides off. It doesn't even slide off all the way, so there's no chance of me losing the lid. There we go. We have legs, torso, head, the hairpiece, and a double-bladed lightsaber, no spare elements, which I kind of loved getting the spare Zabrak horns. I've used them on a few custom minifigures, but the limited edition box does look really cool, especially with that Darth Maul on it. We've got a Vader one as well, and I think there's a few similar tins from the trading card series, but we don't get them over here in the UK anymore. So you'll have to let me know if you have any. So let's piece Maul together and take a look at him compared to, I think the last time we got Darth Maul was around 2019, where we got the duel on Naboo with Qui-Gon and Kenobi and the little red laser gates that then lead way to Qui-Gon's demise. I actually really like this new Darth Maul minifigure. The new one is on your right and the old one's on the left. I think the old one just went way too detailed, which is funny because I'd say there's more lines on the new one, but they're just, well, first off, thicker lines, much thicker lines, which even compared to a regular minifigure like 3PO, the lines are definitely a bit thicker than they were before. But there's something about Maul. It's a more simple design of the character. It works better with Lego, whereas the older one, come to think of it, is not just too detailed, but I feel like they went too hard in trying to get all the details. So this Maul will be replacing my old one, which means I can now use the black robes for another Sith. Always more there are this time. Like I showed off earlier, I have parted out the Sith, Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator, which is what they call the Scimitar. And Darth Maul's not the first minifigure we got in the magazine. You all probably remember me bagging the exclusive Qui-Gon in the magazine poly bag when we picked up that magazine, and since then we've also got a book with Anakin. And for anyone curious how Qui-Gon's got dual molded legs, he doesn't, but I do have a video covering over this dual molded accessory, which I think I still have a few on my store. So for the small price of, I don't actually know how much this magazine cost. We'll double it for Qui-Gon and then add a few quid for Anakin. What's the book, like £5–6? For below £20, I've managed to get a set that not only retails for £60, but it also costs about £52 right now in used elements, and that's not including the free minifigures. I have to admit, the official Lego set does come with an exclusive printed element that is different to the TIE Bomber, and also that Saw Gerrera minifigure, which is worth like 20 quid by itself. But if you weren't looking to pick up the set, and like me, don't really mind about the Saw Gerrera minifigure, and have enough parts in your collection to build the Scimitar, the magazines are so very handy. I want to cast your mind back a few years as well, to the AAT, the Maul vs Ahsoka mini set, which if you were picking both up, not only would you end up with 2 Ahsokas, but it would also cost you an extra like £15–20 to get the Maul vs Ahsoka set. However, that Maul also came in a Lego Star Wars magazine. And if you did pick up the AAT for the 332nd Trooper without the helmet holes, which does look really nice if you're not using those helmet holes, and you also, I think you also got an exclusive droid in that set, then not only would you be able to get Maul for like a £5 in the magazine, but if you already have a Phantom Menace Maul, you can pop off the head of that one and use it for your other Mauls. The Darth Maul mech is a really great set, and we've modified it to have the spider legs, which I think is something Lego should have done for a few extra quid. But I know it's a different head used in that set. Either way, it's a head with no pupils on the improved Maul torso from way back and the exact same legs as that Maul mech, and you've got yourself a brand new figure. Not to mention the collector's tin, which is definitely going on the display behind me. So thank you again to Brickheads for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the description, and let me know if you've picked up the magazine and which magazine you're most excited for next time. Until then, may the bricks be with you, always.